For the underdogs, I'm an underdog. I've been through it all, I could never fall. You know I stand tall, I be on the road. When I'm speaking through the mic.
What's good, you guys? Welcome back to For the Underdogs podcast. I hope everybody out there is doing well. Today's actually my 33rd birthday, so I am super excited to be shooting on my birthday, and I'm excited for this episode because it's something that I think is really powerful when I've given it a lot of thought. So let's get into it. I want to talk about something that I processed with my therapist a couple weeks ago that has really helped me. We were having this conversation based around character and what core pillars I believe in or I stand firm in. Basically, what makes me me at the end of the day. And she had asked me to name them on the spot. I don't know if anyone has ever done this exercise, but if you have, I would imagine you had a hard time just like I did at the beginning, but then as you get rolling, it's kind of natural. But I would definitely recommend trying it if you haven't, because taking that time to actually think about the things that make you the person you are is really valuable when we're speaking in terms of our self-development journeys. And it's just a dope exercise to explore yourself. You know, you get to gain a deeper understanding and understand why things may or may not serve you. These are all qualities that I believe I value within myself. I believe I value having respect for myself. I value being able to trust myself in decision making or intuition. And then I definitely value being authentic. I didn't realize this until really recently, just how important authenticity has been to me in my journey as a whole. So I've said it before, I love being in the flow, and I feel like being authentically connected to yourself allows you to be in that. In today's world, authenticity has become a buzzword. It gets thrown around a ton, and I don't feel like we really hold it in high regard like we should. So I want to talk about exactly what it is. The definition of authenticity means to be living in alignment with your values, your beliefs, and your true identity. So it's through and through. It's from what you do to what you watch, what you consume, what you eat, who you hang out with. The list goes on and on. Is any of those things being authentic to you as a person? All of those things factor into it. On a personal level, I feel like it's also a skill. I say that because we just don't see it in everything these days. It's something you have to almost search for, especially considering the times that we live in now with social media and everybody either portraying to be someone they may or may not be. So what brought me to this whole idea of wanting to speak about it is noticing the times in my life where certain things didn't work out, or when I struggled to find my footing in certain places. I used to be really hard on myself about it, and I didn't understand why there was this tug or complication around it if I'm putting my best foot forward. Like, I mean, everything from certain relationships to career to every aspect of life. If it didn't work out smoothly, I was just really hard on myself, and I would always chalk it up to something being wrong with me, when in actuality, I learned that most of those things weren't truly in alignment with who I was or currently who I am at that time when we're speaking in terms of being our authentic self. And I'm not always saying that it's the thing, right? Like, it's not always, oh, this isn't for me at the time. Like, there's times where I believe it goes both ways. We're not ready as a person to take on a situation, or, you know, our timing just isn't right at the time, and we haven't been able to meet that standard of what's required for what's being presented. So I want to talk about why I feel like authenticity is so crucial. And my opinion on it is because when you can truly be yourself, regardless of the situation, whether it be personal, business, or anything you want to throw out there, you can find happiness in it 100% of the time if it's authentically you. It makes the work you put in towards your goals worth it. And honestly, it shouldn't even feel like work because it's happening so naturally for you. It doesn't feel like you're pressing for it. And I can bet that someone is listening to this and you've experienced situations where everything felt bumpy, or you feel like you missed out on the opportunity that was meant for you, because I've had that same feeling as well. And I'm wondering if you sit back and think about that time period like I've done, was everything aligning to your authentic self, the person you actually were or are at the moment? For me, I have so many instances in life where I can look back and say at the time, I either was not aligned for this to happen, or it simply just wasn't for me based on the timeline that it was presented. So it's really easy for me to relate things to my football career, right? Because I spent so much time in that world, it's almost natural. But I want to talk about something that really gave me the perspective of how far my authenticity has come since being on this self-development, self-growth journey. So post-football career, I was really in a different place. I was transitioning from being a professional athlete all of my life, and that post-athlete career just hit really fast and abrupt. So with that came a ton of different emotions, the anxiety, the depression, and really a lot of insecurities around myself. I had this opportunity 2 years ago, fresh out of my transition from the NFL, to attend a business combine put on by PAC. It's a pro athlete community. It's an exclusive community that focuses on helping athletes like myself pursue what's next. You know, whether you're still in the game or you're transitioning out the game, they have started this whole community that is really special, and it's really great what they're doing. But it's business owners, it's CEOs, top level executives, the whole nine. And their sole purpose is to help you connect and network, which really helps guys if you don't have a brand outside of playing football, which I did not at the time. So what's crazy is 2 years ago, I had turned down the same opportunity. It was presented to me by Caleb Thornhill, and for whatever reason, I let my anxiety, or whatever the case may be, my insecurities, allow me to turn it down. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably like, I could have saved myself a lot of time had I just accepted the invite and gone to this event. But truthfully, I was just really insecure and anxious about the whole thing. And this all hit me the other day as to like why I couldn't accept the invite. For one, I felt like because I didn't have anything I was working on, anything I was passionate about, or really any business etiquette. And I know that sounds weird, but I really didn't have the ability to, maybe I did, but I didn't feel like it at the time. I didn't feel like I had the ability to present myself in a business-like manner to where I was confident. Like I couldn't place myself in that type of setting and be authentic to myself. I had been in smaller settings like that before, and the whole time I'm really just in my head. You know, it's like I'm not present in the actual moment. I'm thinking like, am I presenting myself correctly? Did I say the right thing? What does this person think of me? Like literally all the things that make you feel so small in the moment, I was doing that in past experiences. So when I thought about going to this event 2 years ago, that began to set in for me and ultimately leading me to decline the invite. Fast forward to this year. If you know me and you listen to the podcast, you know these past few years for me has really been focused on self-development from every aspect. Like I've made it a point to grow into the person that can be confident and can present and can have business etiquette given whatever the situation is. So when my guy Caleb texted me the invite this time around, I texted back so fast. Like, I was like, yeah, I'm there. No worries, I'm there. How can I come, And I didn't second guess myself. I didn't have that weird feeling in my stomach this time. I didn't go back and forth with myself about if I should go or not, simply because I know for a fact that now I'm equipped to be in this space given the work I've been doing, right? So what gave me that confidence this time around is really what I want to get into, because it just sets the table for everything. There's a few different things that gave me that confidence. First, I would say all the processing I've been doing through therapy. I basically stripped everything from the ground up, and there's still more work to do. But right now I'm at a place where I really know who I am without the game of football. And that's half the battle right there. I couldn't walk into a room like that 2 years ago and feel confident if I wasn't tapped into who I was authentically. Another piece that's huge, I've completely let go and come to terms with the game of football. I don't wish I could play any longer. I don't really bask in the glory days. Like, I'm not, dreaming about or sitting and talking about when I had this play or this game. Like, of course it comes up here and there, but it's just not something that I do a whole bunch of. So I'm really at a point where I feel like the NFL to me was a stepping stone to my next path. And I truly don't believe that the NFL is the biggest thing I'm going to accomplish in life, because I know there's so much more out there than that. So I'm not trying to live in that space that I'm no longer in, which creates a conflict with your authenticity when you're trying to live a life that you're not a part of. I'm really where my feet are, being present at where I'm at. Finally, the biggest thing that gave me the confidence is that I now have something that I'm passionate about for the underdogs. 2 years ago at this time, I hadn't started anything because mentally I was addressing other things, which is fine, but I couldn't hop on a podcast and talk about such vulnerable things if I wasn't being honest with myself and being authentic to who I am. Every time I introduced myself to someone at this networking event, the big question was, what are you working on right now? And I couldn't imagine not being able to answer that question. But 2 years ago, that's really what my reality was. There was nothing I was working on. And outside of working on myself, which is a task, I didn't have anything tangible that I could speak to. So it felt really good to be able to speak authentically about the brand of For the Underdogs, to share the catalog and really give the backstory on how it came about. And you might say, well, it's just a podcast. But truthfully, when you start anything on your own from the ground up, there's so many qualities that it shows to people that are, entrepreneurs and business people. Like, it shows them a lot of qualities. It shows that you have consistency. It shows that there's sacrifice, there's determination, there's passion behind your brand, because you're there because of your brand. Especially if your brand has substance to it, it shows them that you're being authentic to who you really are. So for me, the podcast is filling up a cup that can't be filled with materialistic things. Like, it's so real to who I am and my experience that it was easy to walk into a room like that and push the podcast because it's me. It didn't feel like I had to make myself feel small or like I had to try to fit in with anything that was going on. So I want to talk about what's the price we pay for being inauthentic. To me, the weight of that is heavy. Like, from an emotional standpoint and a psychological standpoint, the stress and anxiety of constantly battling yourself is exhausting. Like, that feeling of putting yourself in places you shouldn't be or having to blend in, it ultimately wears on your self-esteem at the end of the day, because you're never truly comfortable. Like, having to pretend to be something you're not, it's draining. And I know I've felt that in the past. I don't know if anyone has ever experienced this before, but have you ever been in rooms where you just don't feel inspired or you don't feel connected? Like for me, post-career, everybody was preaching real estate to me, telling me single family, multifamily, fix and flip, all the real estate things that you can imagine, like hard money lending, joint venture projects, all of these things like that. Dude, like that's how you generate income. That's the path for former athletes to take in order to have continued success. And while that may be true in some cases, just because, you know, it's proven that people have had success in it, it doesn't necessarily mean it's meant for me or meant for you. I didn't really know much about it at the time. What I did was I started getting into all the mastermind classes. I started getting into contact with people who had been in real estate that I knew, who were former athletes or current athletes. And I did all the learning from, I'm talking mobile homes to luxury homes. Like I started at the base level and went all the way up to the top when in terms of learning the game of real estate. Basically did everything besides getting my real estate license. And while I have done a few things in real estate, the truth is it just does not ignite me like I could see it did for a lot of my peers or a lot of people I've been around. And I'm not knocking that real estate as an idea. I'm just saying for me, it just didn't give me that fire on the inside. So it was hard for me to fit in authentically. Like when I was in these rooms filled with these real estate enthusiasts, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, am I missing something? Or like, why am I not as excited as this person is to be in this room doing real estate things? Fast forward now, I've had the pleasure to be in groups of people working on tech or AI and broadcasting, podcasting, and I find myself right at home. Like the conversations aren't me trying to get the eye contact that I may need or me trying to like fit into the conversation. It's just happening so naturally. The conversation's flowing because it's authentic to where I am and who I am, what I'm curious about, what I'm interested in learning, what I have a passion about. It's just so authentic to where I'm at this time. It's where I'm supposed to be. So to end it all, I want to kind of talk about how we embraced our authentic self. And I think the first step to being in that space is the whole self-awareness piece. Like we have to spend time reflecting on our values. Give the exercise a shot that I told you guys I did with my therapist. Like think about the core pillars or core values that make you the person you are, and then kind of go from there. Next would be stop trying to be who others expect you to be, right? Like focus on what feels right to you. If something doesn't align with who you want to be at that moment or who you're trying to be in the future, be bold enough to say, this isn't in alignment with me. Like this doesn't sit well with me, because I think that goes a long way. Within that, we also have to like trust ourselves a little more, like trust our intuition, trust our thought process, trust our feelings that our body's given us when we are in situations that don't align with us. Like learn to listen to those signs that your body's giving you or your mind's giving you, and make the right choice based off of that, because you'll feel good when you do make the right decision. Also, I think, and I've spoken on this before, like it all goes hand in hand. You got to be able to set boundaries, like say no to the things that don't give you energy or don't bring any value to you. You have to be able to say no to that. And if you're able to do that, that's again, half the battle. Being able to say no to certain situations will get you a long way. Last but not least, I would say, which I've taken from this event that I just went to, is you have to surround yourself with the right people, the right relationships that will encourage you to be yourself, right? Like I walked into this room full of 250 former, current NFL players and who knows how many CEOs and business owners and team owners and whatever the case may be. Whoever was there, like it's probably 300, 400 people that were there. But the fact that I was in a room where everybody's main focus and main goal was to help build a brand outside of the sport. Like, it was to push themselves to get out of their comfort zone and learn about real estate, or learn about investing, or learn about business owning, everything outside of the sport. You have to be around those type of like-minded people, because I'm speaking from experience, it allowed me to feed off the energy that was in the room. Like, there was nothing that was pulling me away from wanting to learn about what was being talked about on stage. So I think the people that we're around, I've said it so many times, like, the people we're around definitely can steer us in the right direction, which is great, or in the wrong direction, which we don't want to go. So get around people that are truly embracing their role in life. Like, whatever their role is, they're doing it to their full capability, because that'll only rub off on you. And I just want to remind y'all before we close out, authenticity, it's not an end destination. There's never a time where you're going to be like, I'm completely done with the path to authenticity, because we're always going to be constantly, I would hope we're always evolving and always chasing new things that we're going to have to use discernment on whether they serve us or not. So don't feel like if you start, there's no end goal. That's not the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to challenge yourself, do something out of your comfort zone, like do a mastermind, a networking event, something that gets you in a new space that you can sharpen your skill and sharpen the ability to be your authentic self. And don't get discouraged on that path, because we should all be embracing our true selves. So I hope y'all enjoyed that, man. That was something that was on my heart, on my mind, that I wanted to share. Again, it's on my birthday, so I felt like it was only right. And this is actually the 1 year anniversary for the Underdog starting. So I appreciate all of you guys that have been tuning in, and I hope to see you soon.
For the underdogs, I'm an underdog. I've been through it all. I could never fall. You know I stand tall. I be on the road. When I'm speaking through the mic, I protect my soul.